The Australian Outback, a land of vast red deserts, impossibly large rocks, majestic gorges and hidden waterholes, ancient Aboriginal culture, unique wildlife, and flies. A land where the scenery will blow you away, where you'll drive for days without seeing a town, and when you get there, you'll find a quirky pub for a good cold beer. We've spent a good part of our 3-year lap of Australia in the Outback, and in this video we're going to share some of our best places in the Outback that you might never have heard of. Oh, and make sure you stick around till the end because we've saved the best for last. Apart from Darwin, pretty much all of the Northern Territory's in the Outback. The NT has some of Australia's most visited destinations like Uluru and Kakadu, but there are some less visited places that we think should be on your Outback road trip bucket list too. Palm Valley is one of those places that we'd never heard of. When we arrived in Alice Springs, we went to the visitor centre to get some information on driving the Mereenie Loop. The lady at the visitor centre recommended we didn't drive the Mereenie Loop and instead we go to Palm Valley. Well, we did drive the Mereenie Loop. We'll talk about that in an upcoming video on the worst roads in the Outback. But she did say to go to Palm Valley. We did, and we really loved it there. Palm Valley is in the Finke Gorge National Park and is around 140 kilometres west of Alice Springs. The road to Palm Valley is unsealed for 22 kilometres, and for a lot of it, you'll be driving along the dry riverbed of the Finke River, so you'll need high clearance and drop your tyre pressure. This is definitely one of those places where the journey is equally as good as the destination. After 16 kilometres you'll reach the campground. The remaining 6 kilometres is much rougher, so we left our van at the campground and rode our mountain bikes the rest of the way. On the way to Palm Valley you'll pass the cycad gorge. These are McDonnell cycads, which are also found in Stanley Chasm in the West McDonnell Ranges. Some of these plants are over 300 years old. Palm Valley gets its name from the red cabbage palms, which are only found in this area. The hiking in this national park is fantastic, so after riding our bikes to Palm Valley, we did the Mulunkinya walk. Our advice is to do this walk clockwise. Then you get the climb done at the beginning, you can enjoy the beautiful views from the lookout, and then you finish with walking through the Palm Valley at the end. The Pilbara region is huge. It's about 500,000 square kilometres, which is about the same size as the country of Spain or the state of California. But there's only 50,000 people that live in the Pilbara, and if you compare that to Spain, which has 48 million, or California with 40 million, you can see that the Pilbara is kind of like this big empty nothingness. But it's not nothing. The Pilbara is absolutely amazing. If you want to see really red dirt, head to the Pilbara region in Western Australia. While the dirt in the Northern Territory seems more orange, out here it's really red. The red comes from iron oxide, so it's not surprising there are so many iron ore mines in this area. The main tourist draw card in the Pilbara region is Karijini National Park. Many people say it's their favourite national park in Australia. We spent a week there and it's definitely up there in our top 5. But there's a lot more to the Pilbara than Karijini. We spent a couple of months based in Newman, right in the middle of the East Pilbara, while Nigel was on a flying contract. I even got to go flying with him one day. We did some exploring on Nigel's days off, and one of the places that we went out to was Kalgan Pool. Now, you do need a little bit of local knowledge to get out here. You can get a really rough drawn map from the visitor centre, but even with that, driving out here still involved a little bit of guesswork on our part. Now, this is definitely one of our favourite drives in our whole lap of Australia. A large part of this track goes along the river, and the water was over a foot deep when we drove along there. I think there are about 5 water crossings, 2 of which were quite long. Nigel walked both of these before we drove through. Now, there are no crocodiles this far south, so he was quite safe. And then it was time for adventure. You can camp at Kalgan Pool. I'm not sure if it's official or not, but sadly when we were there, a large noisy group turned up. We decided to leave and found a nice quiet campsite all to ourselves. Well friends, we've just parked up at our camp and look at where we are.
Parked up at one of the many similar water crossings we've had today. Yeah, like some of them are up to well above knee deep. We've got weed on the back bumper bar. We've been through, we've had to hack down some branches to get through to this campsite, but all in all, yeah, she's been quite the adventure today.
While we were in the Pilbara, we also explored 3 pools and Wheelie Wally, and we highly recommend these spots as well. We had no real expectations of South Australia, and other than the wineries, we really just wanted to visit Coober Pedy and the Flinders Ranges. One of our South Australian friends recommended we visit Arkaroola. Now, we'd never heard of this place, but it soon became one of our favourites. So the Arkaroola Wilderness Sanctuary is an award-winning eco-tourism destination. There's amazing rugged mountain ranges, beautiful red cliffs, and there's even some really rare wildlife out there. Whichever way you drive to Arkaroola, you'll need to drive over 100 kilometres on unsealed roads. We drove in from Copley and out to Blinman. The roads in both directions were quite well maintained, so we made good time. The best way to explore Arkaroola is on the Ridgetop Tour, which is a half-day open-top Land Cruiser tour up private roads to Sellers Lookout. We were absolutely blown away on this tour. Oh my gosh, that drive has just been intense. And look at where we are. This is like nothing we've ever seen before. There's also great hiking here in Arkaroola. We loved the Acacia Ridge hike, which was not too challenging and offers fantastic views from the summit. Well, Nige, I reckon I'm giving that hike like 5 stars.
Yep.
Out of 5.
Yeah.
If you do want to do your own thing with your 4x4, there are plenty of tracks around to keep you excited. Once again, we jumped on the bikes to explore around Stubbs Waterhole. We've just got to Stubbs Waterhole and I thought this would be a really cool spot for Nigel to do a Nigel dive.
Well, A, there's no water in it. B, if there was, there's no swimming allowed in Waterhole anyway, but this is completely bone dry.
We're just discussing how this reminds us of the Pilbara and in particular Kalgan pool.
Wallabies!
Oh, and did we mention wildlife? There's a gorgeous family of rare yellow-footed rock wallabies that come to visit each evening. We're both real movie buffs, and one of the things that we've really enjoyed doing as we've travelled around Australia is go to some of the locations of the movies that we love watching. So Silverton has a really rich history with movies, TV series and commercials. It's often used as a location when they want to set something in the outback. The corner on this stretch of road is where they filmed the truck crash scene at the end of Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior. There's even a Mad Max museum here. We met a couple in town who'd come all the way from Kentucky in the United States just to see the museum. But even without this movie connection, it's just a really cool, quirky little town, and it's got a really good outback pub. The pub has loads of memorabilia all over the walls from the movies that have been shot here. But what I found really interesting was all the ruined buildings around town and all of these Volkswagen Beetles. Very weird. Another painted car. Very cool. Very cool town. Not to mention those outback sunsets. They really are something else.
Oh, first word, wow. It just blows you away.
Deep in the far northwest of Queensland lies Bujamala National Park. Formerly known as Lawn Hill, this park is centred around a spectacular gorge with great hiking, canoeing on the gorge and plenty of Aboriginal history. There's a well-appointed national park campground here and it's a great place to stay for a couple of days. Sadly, a lot of the infrastructure at the national park was damaged in floods in March of 2023. And the national park has been closed. It is due to reopen in the middle of 2024 after the wet season. Bujamala is around 4 hours north of Mount Isa and you can get here in a capable two-wheel drive vehicle if you're coming via Gregory River. The worst part of the road is once you get into the national park, which is something we found almost everywhere around the country. Lawn Hill Gorge is the absolute draw card here. Seeing the gorge from above at the Duwadari lookout at sunrise is one of our favourite moments. We walked up to this lookout and then continued on the Gorge Rim hike, which also took us to Indowry Falls, a great place for a swim and a Nigel dive. The gorge is a really popular place for canoeing. Don't worry if you don't have your own canoe, you can hire one here. There is a small porterage between the first and second gorges and a fun little obstacle to get through. Seeing the red cliff walls from this angle gave us a whole different perspective. We loved Bujamala so much that we actually extended our stay out here. It's definitely somewhere we would love to go back to, and we really hope that when it reopens in 2024, it's just as wonderful as it was when we visited. You should definitely add this place to your Australian road trip bucket list. So there you have it, 5 of our favourite places in the Outback. Let us know which ones you've been to, and let us know which ones we've convinced you to add to your Aussie bucket list. We're going to link all the videos to these places down in the description, but you might want to start off with this one. Thanks so much for watching this video. We really hope that you've enjoyed it, and we will see you next time.